each other. I'm Sandra Steingraber. I'm a biologist and distinguished scholar in residence at Ithaca College. Of course, I'm an Illinois native. I was born in Champaign. I was raised in Pekin. Graduated from Illinois Wesleyan, did a master's degree at Illinois State. Became a biology professor in Chicago. Did a postdoc there in women's public health policy. So I lived half my life, 25 years, in Illinois, and the other half in upstate New York, where I live now. And for the last 2 years, I've been investigating the human health effects of fracking. I want to tell you a story about growing up in Tazewell County. It was my job as a kid, whenever an overnight guests were expected at our house, to clean the upstairs bathroom. And part of that task involved hanging the embroidered guest towels on the rack. And it turns out that nobody ever used those towels because it was understood by both the guest and the host that they were just there for show, right? And instead, everyone washed their hands on the half-used bar of dial in the soap dish, and then they surreptitiously dried them in the back fold of the threadbare bath towel hanging behind the door. The moratorium bill on fracking in Illinois is being treated by our elected officials like an impractical guest towel. It's there just for decoration, for a show of respectability. The host gets credit for it and the guests admire it. What a lovely display. But otherwise, it's ignored and unused. And instead, everyone is wiping themselves on a threadbare regulatory bill. And by endorsing and praising the moratorium on fracking, while endorsing and voting for regulations, elected officials believe they are washing their hands of responsibility. But I'm here to say, we're not going to let you do that. You are responsible for the outcome, which even before fracking commences is abysmal. The regulatory bill now before the Assembly was drafted under the guidance of the Illinois Attorney General behind closed doors with no public hearings, no public comment period, no input from scientists or physicians or public health officials, without environmental studies or human health impact assessment. These rules are arbitrary, they are compromises based on negotiations with industry, and they guarantee neither public health nor environmental integrity. As one example, the regulations stipulate that a well pad can't be located closer than 500 feet to a home. Now that distance, 500 feet, is just a made-up number. It's not the result of careful scientific investigation. In fact, the best data we have from Colorado shows that benzene levels in ambient air around drilling and fracking operations are elevated to levels above that known to pose cancer risks at distances approaching 3,500 feet, which is more than 7 times 500 feet, which is the allowable setback limit in Illinois. Now I want to show you some brand new data. These are, I printed out from a brand new journal on what we know about the environmental health effects of fracking. Here's the title of one. Navigating Medical Issues in Shale Territory. Insights on unconventional natural gas development from shale, an interview with Tony Ingrafia, who's one of our foremost experts on shale. Marcellus Shale drilling's impact on the dairy industry in Pennsylvania. Number of cows go down and the milk production is going down in intensely drilled areas. Problems with disclosure of hydraulic fluid chemical additives analysis of regulations. Community-based risk assessment of water contamination from high-volume horizontal hydraulic fracking. And these papers are just the tip of the iceberg. We in the scientific community know about data in the pipeline that are going to be coming out soon showing some pretty bad problems, including problems in newborns born to mothers who are pregnant living near drilling and fracking operations in Pennsylvania. All right, so what are we going to do here? Do our public elected officials in Illinois really want to be responsible when this little slim pile of paper turns into an avalanche of evidence for harm? Because they did not have the good sense to declare a moratorium first, do the studies while we keep people out of harm's way, and then make the decision based on the science as a precondition for whether to move forward or not. And what's worse, those endorsing and voting on this bill have not even been bothered to conduct even one fact-finding mission. The senators and assembly members voting to allow fracking in Illinois have not conducted even a single fact-finding field trip to the gaslands of Pennsylvania, only 45 minutes from where I live now, or Ohio, or West Virginia, to see firsthand the devastation that thousands of well pads, spider webs of pipeline, and their attendant compressor stations, flare stacks, and flowback pits can wreak across the rural landscape. They've paid no official visits to the sand hills of Wisconsin and Minnesota to see firsthand the ruination that strip mining for frac sand can bring to both land and people. And yet they are ready to vote for regulated fracking. My grandfather, who farmed in Livingston County, would label that kind of irresponsibility buying a pig in a poke. Today, we read that a single wildcat well has already been fracked in White County. Remarkably, this discovery is touted by Natural Resources Defense Council as good reason for passing the regulatory bill. From my perspective, that's like discovering a rapist in the community and deciding that we need a law mandating that all those planning to commit sexual assault must wear condoms. This news is also a distraction. Yes, fracking, used in the narrow sense, the way industry likes to use the word, has been legal for years. And yes, in limited sense, it's occurring now. But what's not occurring here in Illinois is significant development of gas and oil from shale bedrock, which requires many closely spaced wells in grid pattern, forest fragmentation, destruction of farmland, volumes of fracking fluid approaching 6 million gallons, not 640,000 gallons. That's what's not happening here in Illinois, and that's what is going to be permitted with this regulatory bill tips forward. Two wrongs do not make a right. That's something else I learned from my Illinois grandfather. The answer to unregulated fracking is not regulated fracking. It's a moratorium. It's the only answer. And saying that you want a moratorium while signaling your willingness to permit and regulate is not the way to get a moratorium. Shale gas and oil extraction via high-volume horizontal fracking is an atrocity. It's an assault on public health, air quality, our precious freshwater resources, and the climate itself. There's no way to do it right, and those who claim otherwise are on the wrong side of history. The anti-fracking movement is growing into a nationwide citizen uprising. With or without passage of this regulatory bill, we will be escalating our actions in Illinois in the months to come. We have plans for statewide education and outreach campaigns and actions, and we will remember and call out those elected officials and those environmental organizations who dismiss the moratorium bill as a pretty guest towel, as something to admire and walk away from. Moratorium is not. It's a human right that's guaranteed to all of us, and that's what we're going to fight for, and we're going to keep fighting for no matter what happens. I live in New York now, but this is my home. I paid $1,000 for a plane ticket to come back here and fight with you, and I will stand with you for as long as it takes to get rid of fracking in Illinois. I pledge it.